Welcome back to our training. This is the third one on the four core metabolic cellular healing stack. Once again, each one of these products that we are talking about are powerful on their own, yet together they're transformational and they can absolutely make huge dynamic effects on the body. So this one, we're going to talk about Emulin5. Emulin5 is a very unique product. First of all, it's been around for a long time. There's a lot of experience, a lot of use of over the years of it. And Dr. Joseph Aarons, which is a formulator of this, had it with another company, and that company dumbed down their product, or so the story's been told. And so he spent several years trying to find a company that could make the product and actually produce the product in a way that was acceptable to him, along with his strict guidelines. And so they spent a lot of time with MPG figuring out how to make this work and how to bring this product out and how to even make it better. So we're going to talk about all the great benefits of Emulin5 and take it from there. So let's do a deep dive into Emulin5. First of all, what is it and how does it work? Emulin operates through 7 different metabolic pathways. So let me kind of go through those. Number one is what we call starch to sugar conversion. This buffers the enzymes that convert starches into glucose and reduces the sugar release from food. Number two, it's glucose absorption, which slows the glucose absorption to the GI tract or the gastrointestinal tract, which then leads to lower blood sugar spikes. Number three, it actually increases glucose tissue uptake, which means it facilitates the movement of glucose into the muscle tissues for energy. And then, as far as fat promotion, it redirects sugar away from fat storage and promotes its use in muscle tissue. And then number five is glucose homeostasis, which means it helps maintain the balanced blood sugar levels. Number six, as far as insulin release goes, it encourages timely release when it's needed and not before, because it's reduced the demand load inside the blood. And then number seven, regarding insulin sensitivity, it enhances the body's response to insulin, right, requiring less blood sugar. So let me kind of take all these things and just put them real quick into what this does. The first thing Emulin is going to do is going to reduce the amount of spiking of the sugar that's in the food that you eat that goes into the system. Then it's actually going to form a protective barrier around it. It's actually going to get it to go into the cells, and thereby it reduces the demand load of insulin inside the blood. And once it goes into the cells, it'll release the sugar into the cell and upregulate that utilization or that ability to process inside there. Now, once we come back out of the cell and we go back into the blood circulatory issues and how it revamps that, it's going to direct it to the muscle to be used, right, instead of being stored into fat. And all of that process means that as the body's reading the hormone regulation, whether we need the insulin or glucagon, these different aspects of what we need to manage the blood sugars or the energy flowing through the blood, it absolutely changes that demand load, and therefore we don't have to go into much production in the insulin. So then what is Emulin5? It's a formulation of 3 patented flavonoids plus vitamin C and probiotics. Together, they support that body's immune system. We talked about that with the FIT as well. Helps maintain healthy blood sugar levels and assist in carbohydrate metabolism, which is your sugars and your starches. Think of your processed foods in that sense. Then what are the flavonoids? Flavonoids are compounds found in plants like fruits and vegetables that support healthy body functions. They're critical because they're often compared to vitamins because they assist with normal blood sugar metabolism and healthy immune system function. They're not vitamins, but they're compared to that enzymatic activity like that. So one of the things that really affects on is what we call the gut-brain axis. So when we talk about the gut-brain axis or the brain-gut axis and how this process works, it actually is a communication network that links your gut and your brain. In functional medicine, we talk a lot about the head-body disconnect, meaning that when we say that the brain is 80% sensory input, meaning from the totality of the body coming up to the brain, it's sending a lot of signals, and it's only 20% mechanical output. Well, if there's so much inflammatory issues or problems or dysfunctions occurring in the body, and it flushes up to the brain, it's like the brain's getting screamed at all the time, and it really just chooses to kind of disconnect, right? So another way I describe this is think about this: if you have 10 phones that you can call the brain on, if you always use your primary phone, well, pretty soon the brain knows who you are, your number is, and it'll just quit answering the phone. So you go to another phone until that gets worn out. Then you go to another one until that system gets figured out, and then another one. And eventually the body and the brain no longer communicating. So we talk about the gut-brain axis. This is a critical network, and we'll get into the vagus nerve. We're going to talk about that even a little bit further. The gut's own nervous system, which is the second brain within the body itself, is actually part of your brain that sends signals that can affect your mood, your energy, your mental clarity, and immune function. So we've seen people that eat a lot of sugar. They can almost get like we call them sugar drunks or sugar alcoholics because most alcohol is sugar, right? And so therefore, if you eat a lot of sugars, right, then you get giddy. It affects your mood, it affects your energy. You go into brain dead, mental clarity goes down, and too much sugar actually reduces your immune ability to respond, or the immune system, the immunity aspect, and you can't respond to when other things are starting happening in the body. All right. It's a balanced gut microbiome that is the key to communication. We'll talk about that in another product. So most people say, was Emulin5 natural or synthetic? And the way I try to explain this, all components of Emulin5 come naturally from real food, all right? Naturally sourced ingredients, vegetables, fruits, and probiotics. So when we talk about the essence of this, this is 100% natural, right? So how does Emulin5 then help with sugar metabolism? Great question. First of all, it contains a patented mix of three different flavonoids. These flavonoids are, they help slow down the absorption of carbohydrates in the gut. They support the normal transport of sugars to muscles and then to the brain. And that's critical because the brain itself is the greatest consumer of sugar in the body. It wants that quick fuel because it's running 24/7, no matter whether you're asleep or awake or up or moving or just resting. It constantly needs that to run that. So it's the greatest consumer of that. And what we have seen in the last 30, 40 years of healthcare is that dementia, which is really now called type 3 diabetes, is gone from like in the 30s up to the top 5 of the things that actually cause a lot of ill health to the body and actually can cause early death. So it assists in maintaining healthy insulin sensitivity production, and modern diets often lack these natural occurring flavonoids, and therefore Emulin5 helps fill that nutritional gap to support that healthy sugar metabolism. So then how does the Emulin5 support the body and thereby the immune system? When your body detects a problem, it's going to trigger an immune response. You've heard me talk about this in the past when I talk about what I call in supply energy. So the first of all, we talk about there's three types of energy that you need: now, repair, and supply. And so supply energy contains two major categories that we refer to as what we jokingly say is the firemen and the soldiers. So the firemen are what actually have to go out and put out a fire or a problem that's going on in the body, where the soldiers go out and attack foreign invaders or things that become rancid or cause problems in the body itself. So when you look at it, that when the body triggers this problem, it's going to trigger an immune response. These flavonoids then assist in regulating that response by helping to keep certain signals, such as the tumor necrosis factor alpha, within normal ranges. We talked about that in the fix and the fit side. When those get out of balance or out of hand and they get in that loop, they just keep feeding themselves, it causes all kind of problems. And that starts going around the body, and it's like you never get the signal shut back off, right? This way, your immune system can function optimally without excessive inflammation. When you bring all that back into control, remember, inflammation is normal. You want that, but it needs to be in a controlled environment and be reduced back down. And when we look at the things, such things as interleukin-6 and some of these other spiking things that occur, it gets out of control. It just keeps burning like a raging forest fire. As long as there's fuel to burn on it, it's going to keep burning. Well, this actually comes in and contains it and makes sure that it eventually gets put back out. All right. So does Emulin5 cure treating disease? No, none of these products are going to have any of that type of claim. It's not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any type of disease at all. It simply supports the body with key nutrients often lacking in our modern diets. So is it safe for anyone to take? Since it contains flavonoids, vitamin C, and probiotics at levels recognized as safe in dietary supplements, anybody can take this. Okay. There are no known allergic reactions, drug interactions have been reported in all these years of using Emulin5 at all. Right. So when can a person potentially notice any effects? Well, let's do this first. Let's talk about who this really is for. First of all, this product's for anybody, but anybody who has a blood sugar dysfunction or dysregulation going in their body, whether that's a pre-diabetic or it's a pre-diabetic or even type 1, 2, or 3 diabetes, more specifically 2 and 3, the beneficial effects begin at the cellular level right away. I mean, within moments of taking that, I say moments, or I should say minutes, within minutes of taking that. However, the visible and noticeable changes can take days or even weeks. Some people report feeling more alert or less fatigued, even though Emulin5 doesn't contain any stimulants. And if you track your blood sugars, you'll see changes within days. And we've done this on our patients and clients. We've actually seen these things happen about 3 to 5 days. It's measurable results within there. And here's another neat thing. If you have a minor wound, it's even going to speed up the healing of those things that's even underneath the skin. Even though this is blood related, it'll get out in the interstitial space and it's going to go to the cellular activity and turn on the natural healing properties of the body itself. Whoops. So what is Emulin5? I call it the glycemic peace. It actually brings a nervous system into balance and just calms it all the way down. So the mechanism by which it does that, it contains cholinergic acid, quercetin, and myrcene, and those are the three key flavonoids that are needed in the body, and they're very unique in what they do. It buffers post-meal glucose and reduces a unique thing called inflammatory glycation end products. And this is what we talk about when the sugar-based things, they actually become destructive. They become mycotoxin or toxic and can actually reduce a lot of good benefits in the body. It also improves insulin sensitivity at the peripheral and hypothalamic levels as well. And the vagal input to the vagus nerve or to the vagal system, it reduces sympathetic overdrive triggered by blood sugar spikes. So let's talk about that for a second here. Because when we look at the vagus system or the vagal system itself, the vagus nerve, and we talk about the sympathetic and the parasympathetic, it really is a unique aspect that we use terms like the fight, flight, or freeze aspect. And when you're into fight or flight, the sympathetic is kicking in. Well, when you're doing that, all the processes of sugars and everything is moved away from the core and out to the muscles. So you can defend or fight off, or you can run, right? When you get into a freeze mode, everything just stops. You stop going out to the sympathetic side and you stop into the parasympathetic side. It's like everything's just on hold. And what this does, this reduces that parasympathetic overdrive. And so think of like if you have too much blood sugar or too many things going through the body, and then think of stress, because stress is a sympathetic overdrive. And if this comes in and reduces that down, all of a sudden you're at a more of a calming, piecing mechanism. It also modulates the neuroinflammation of the alpha beta inhibition, and those are critical factors that stop the inflammatory issues well. All right. It supports autonomic flexibility, which means you have heart rate variability and less cortisol dysregulation. It just brings calmness and peace back into the systems. And that's the beauty of what this process does. So for me, Emulin5 calms the storm at the root of everything that's going on. So with that, we're going to pause this. I'm going to say God bless to you, and we'll get ready for our next training.